speak a bit about how I feel watching an amazing presentation like the one from Sama and the amazing work that they do. I think we work in a sector where you can never do enough. You're constantly surrounded by, oh, we would need to do more. And then seeing the amazing work of Masin Yusana and the amazing presentation that Sama does, I just feel like, oh, we're not doing enough. Oh, masifunde must up their game. Are we good enough yet? And then the next thought is, am I good enough? I'm the leader, I'm the captain here. How can we get there? We are so amazed by their work, and then it takes me back, and I was just thinking about when I speak to the founder of Masin Yusana, it's Jim, and I would speak to him and he would tell me like, hi Jonas, at Masin Yusana we still have to up our game, like we're so far behind. It's like, I don't know, and my team, and the this, and the stats. And I realize, most probably we all have organizations and people that we look up to and think like, oh, that's amazing. And if you speak to them, they will tell you, I'm looking up to those and I'm still not there. So, out of that feeling of when I watch you and when I watch Masin Yusana and I'm impressed, I always get that feeling of, oh, I'm not good enough yet as a person, and masifunde is not there yet. And I must always tell myself, instead of being demotivated by someone who's doing amazing work, how do I channel that into motivation for myself? And that's what I just told myself again when I watched, and I'm like so impressed by what you're using AI and all of that. And I'm like, oh, we're not there yet. To just tell myself, cool, but if they can do it, you can do it. So take motivation out of it, be inspired by the work they do. And that's also the idea here, because we have the big organization sharing all the expectations that are coming towards us in the sector. And I really don't want anyone to walk out here and feeling like, oh, can I do it? But like, no, we are doing great work already. And it's just really to be inspired, to get motivated, just every day trying to get a bit better than we were yesterday. And then one day we have chatbots and AI bots in our organization as well. That was not part of my presentation, but I just wanted to share that because that's a feeling that I very often have as a leader in the non-profit sector. We invited Masin Yusana to share their amazing development model where they tackle those two problems of youth unemployment and literacy with one approach. It's amazing. He was able to introduce all their work on one slide. Key stats, that's how we fix it. And it's a model that they can use and they can literally scale it. They could roll it out South Africa and hit, what do you say, two birds with one stone. It's absolutely amazing and impressive. And when we look for funding, and when I coach organization, I always use Masin Yusana as like, do you have a model like that? Can you break down your model of what you want to do in a nutshell, where you could tell, that's what we do, that's the problem, that's the other problem, when we fix it like that. Now masifunde, very similar to Masin Yusana in terms of our history, our story, the duration of our existence, the size of the organization. We don't have that one model. So what we do is we work preschool with primary and high schools, we work with unemployed youth, post-school programs, we have change maker programs all over the country, we have exchange programs, so that is different. And so we cannot break it down to that one model like Masin Yusana does it. And I think a lot of organizations that I work with are a bit more like masifunde. They can tell you, we do a bit of this here, and we do a bit of that there, and yes, it speaks together. And so I thought, let me speak from that perspective. So how does masifunde do it? If we have a variety of interventions. You saw the preschool that we're running, we're training ECDs, we're working in the schools where we're running libraries, but we have life skill programs in the afternoon, swimming lessons, urban gardening, choirs, drama groups, and then a whole center for unemployed youth. The first thing I think what we're trying to do to seek funding is trying to create little pockets that we present to a funder. So very seldomly we would pitch all of that to a funder. We would very often laser focus, zoom in, and if a funder is interested in working on ECDCs, let us not come across like a jack of all trade, but rather like the master of one, and that's ECD. We have sometimes funders who come and they say like, oh wow, you work with unemployed youth. Oh, we didn't know that you, like, yes, because we present where we think it's the best fit between the funder and masifunde. But that's not always the case. Sometimes funders are looking at an organization that does the whole lifespan of programs or looks at holistic interventions. Again, the lesson for us there is find out what the funder is interested in. How can we present our work in such a way that they dive into and that they engage with us? But what the model that masifunde has, we try to have within the preschool, we try to have a model within our in-school, and we try to have a model for post-school as well, that we could theoretically introduce to a funder individually. Where does our funding come from? It comes from a variety of sources. 50% roughly comes from South Africa, a bit less, and a bit more than 50% comes from Europe, Germany, Switzerland, Austria. And it comes from government agencies, foundations, the corporate sector, about 30%, faith-based organizations. And the way one seeks funding here differs literally from organization to organization. There are a couple of learnings that we're going to share, but some organizations, we have a good relationship, we can send them an email and request, and when we're done with the project, we can send them a photo and we tell them we're done. Thank you very much for the funding. And that can be a very big funder of a building like that, where you report afterwards with a photograph and say, here's the building, it's amazing, thank you so much. And then we have funders who would want to have a very detailed report, who maybe want an evaluation, where we show evidence, and then we would have funders who do not only want to see that the building is up, but they want to see how we spend the money, they want the financial report, they want the receipts, and then there are some funders who want the receipts in original, and we need to send them. And others say there was no stamp on the receipts, and they sent it back. So it differs literally from funder to funder. The Germans are smiling. Yes, that's German funders. They want the receipts with a stamp in original. So there is not one size fits all, and there's not one approach to funders. It literally is about diving in and finding out how do we work with each other. There are a couple of, and they were mentioned, we're going to share that presentation after. Don't approach a funder if you don't have your ducks in the row. I think you're going to waste your time. And that is even funders who do not want much reporting, but the minimum is you have all your registration, all your policies must be there. Your financials need to be audited or at least reviewed. You need to have an active web presence. So I think there's a couple of things. If you want to seek funding, just get them out of the way before you dive further in. And then it's about how you find a suitable foundation. Maybe you find them. The best, I think, for us is by looking on partner organizations and engaging with partner organizations, like the SAMAs and the gyms, where we'd be like, we're looking for, do you have a partner organization that works in that field? Oh, I'm looking on their website and I see, oh, they receive funding from D.G. Murray Trust, and I would, before I approach D.G. Murray, I would contact masifunde and say like, how did you got the funding actually? You know, they're like, maybe they can connect us, maybe they can send us an email address, or they can introduce us. So that is usually the first step. We very seldomly, or I don't think ever, did we do a cold call where we just approached a new funder. There is some kind of relationship before. And then what makes a funder suitable? I think, and most of it was mentioned before, the mission match. There must be some kind of what they want to achieve must be aligned with what you want to achieve. There must be a funding volume match. There are funders, they start from 500,000 Rand. If your budget is not there yet, it's not the right time yet. And vice versa, there are funders that just want to give 50,000 Rand, I don't want to say just, but like, it would not be then suitable because we need bigger budgets. So those funders are then for other organizations at another lifespan. And other compliance and admin expectations. Can I really fulfill what that funder expects? And the last aspect, usually the funder has their criteria: location, topic, duration, project type. If you don't tick all boxes, I think you're going to waste your time. If you think you send a funder a proposal and say, I know you only support projects in Uganda, but we're in South Africa and we're doing great work as well. So if you do not tick all boxes, I think you're wasting your time. Am I within the 5 minutes you gave me? First contact, I mean, ideally get introduced to someone. So network, that's why that is so important what we're doing here. That's why we want you guys to engage amongst each other, that you have that relationship, that you know what others do, that you can pick up the phone and say, Jonas, I see you got funding from those guys. Is there a chance that you can introduce us? Or do you have an email address, or what was the procedure? That kind of relationship, you know. A funder comes and masifunde often says like, you must visit masifunde. And vice versa. I said like, if you're here, please swing by masifunde, they're amazing. So that kind of, very important. Don't think in silos, build relationships. Jamala spoke about that earlier on as well. I think patience and timing, wait for the right time when you submit a proposal. Don't just submit it for the sake of submitting it. Just wait. Do you have a project that fits perfectly? You know, stay in touch with the funder, you know, and then you get a feeling. I would liaise with the HCI Foundation, with our contact person, Malusi, and I would contact him first. We're looking, is there a possibility? And Malusi would tell me, hi Jonas, sorry, we're not having open calls. And then I don't have to waste my time to submit. And he said, contact me in Jan. Or he said, just send me a one-pager, I don't want to waste your time. And I discuss it. Those kind of relationships, that before you submit 20 pages, talk to them, pick up the phone, get a feeling of amounts, of focus areas, etc. So if you submit, it's a match, ideally. And then it comes down to the narrative. And Sama spoke about it, and I think you need, Smangaliso spoke about it as well, a good story to tell. So your intervention, it starts with a problem statement, it continues with your solution theory. So what is your model, how you want to bring change? How are you doing it in action? So is it already happening? What have you achieved so far, and what could you achieve if a funder comes on board? And that narrative is identical whether you take someone through a presentation, whether you write a proposal, or whether you drive with someone through the community. Yesterday, Jamala visited with HCI, and we literally went through that narrative by exploring masifunde. Driving through the community, we talked about the challenges, we looked at the venues, and we dived in deeper and deeper into that. And then you can, I think, present, depending on funders, a problem statement in different ways. There could be, that's why I picked that, the video where you give a funder while you talk an impression of what the challenges are. There can be photos, and there can obviously be stats. Sama spoke about that. There can be a lot of text, there can be data, there can be references to government stats. And there's all types of forms of how you can introduce a problem. But I think it should be more than that. Yeah, I was in that school and I saw the kids don't have shoes, and now I want to. It should be more than just your experience. There must be some kind of evidence as a problem statement. And then comes your solution. That is our model when it comes to working with primary and high school learners, where we support with academics, life skills, extramural, social assistance. We activate them and they reach out into the community. And everything we do with primary and high school learners, we can fit into that. And in a proposal, I could theoretically laser focus on just social assistance, and I can now explain that further. Or I try to seek funding for the whole model, or maybe just the extramurals, because our learners in grade 3 and 4, they get swimming lessons, and there's a funder that does sport. So let me laser in, let me zoom in, and just pitch that to the funder. But tell them that's the bigger proposal. Solution in action, again, make it tangible. That's what we're doing already. So you're not submitting a proposal about something that is just up in the sky, but it is already happening to some degree. So I think pictures work great, the narrative works great. So, what Sama mentioned earlier, I want to train someone in taking good photos, a photo that can tell a story, a photo that's relatable, you know, that is great. It's a good investment. Or a video. Here we have a video where it's just one of our volunteers, that was not a filmmaker, just walk through our venue when the programs are running. And then the next part is impact to date. So certain forms of data capturing must happen on a day-to-day basis, obviously. There can be an evaluation once per year. That's what we try to do with a social functioning tool, where we try to compare outlook of life on children that are in a life skill program in the first year, second, third year. Where we compare our matric pass rates and our school dropout rates with national or local or provincial stats. But there is also the MSc, the most significant change model that you could use. And Sama used that, for example, earlier on. He picked 2 of their hundreds of beneficiaries and all of a sudden made it relatable what they are doing. So I could pick any of those success stories. Most significant change is where you take 1 or 2 success stories and you dive in and you elaborate and you share that story as a good example of how your program works. So it does not always have to be only data-driven, number-driven. A mix of it can work as well. And then here, that's just what I'm working on right now. I thought I'd just share those 2. We're currently trying to get funding to overcome a dump site, an illegal dump site in front of Warmer Primary School, and I can zoom in and show a specific problem. Everyone can see that's a problem. Sewerage, illegal dumping in front of a primary school is a problem, and I can very easily present a solution that a funder could get on board with. We want to turn that rubbish into a play park where children can learn the traffic rules to become responsible drivers one day. It's very, very simple. We visualize it, and I can add now a proposal to it. And just to stick to the example, when Jamala was yesterday with us, and they're a potential funder, and I showed that, and I realized, okay, no, there's no appetite for that play park. And I clicked and continued in my presentation. But it could have happened that yesterday when I showed him that, Jamala would have said, I love it. That's amazing. And HCI is looking into infrastructure and into parks, and then we would have continued the conversation. So it's about trying to get a feeling of, is there an appetite for a certain project? So what are the learnings? And then I'm done. I think it's very important to learn to connect the dots. Connect the dots between what a funder, regardless what, faith-based, foundation, private, corporate, wants, and your work. And that takes a bit of time to practice it. Where are the links between that? And then tailor-make your proposals, individualize it. It's the same like when someone applies for a job, if a CV comes photocopied 10 times and the date is fixed on the bottom with a pen, you want to have that feeling of that proposal was written for me, and you want it to be written for that specific funder. Use their words, link it to their work, make sure there is a match when reading it. Just like Smagaliso said, speak to him as there's an individual reading it, you know? So it shouldn't be a copy-paste exercise. I think less is more. As I said earlier on, if I present everything that masifunde does, they think like, oh, do they know what they do? So I rather reduce it a bit, so like, yeah, we're running a Montessori school. Focus on that. Honestly, it was mentioned, I think, by everyone before as well. Everyone knows our job is not easy. It is so obvious. It is partly a mission impossible of what we do. It is so tough we're not producing cars where every polo looks the same. We're working with human beings where every single individual is different. What worked here doesn't work there, and here we succeeded, there we failed. So I think it is absolutely okay to share also where things don't work, and to get into that habit of speaking openly with funders about that. Shine, but come as you are, be authentic. Yesterday, I think I didn't even inform the team, just the Out of School Youth Center, that HCI Foundation is coming. And we're walking through, and you might say, like, what's not happening? Why is it quiet here? We don't have a brass band set up when a funder comes. And we don't serve sushi and champagne. We're like, come and look how we roll. Get a feeling of it. And if it's quiet because it's raining, then we can tell, sorry, when it rains, the kids don't come sometimes. We're not faking anything. And I think that a funder feels it, whether it's authentic or or whether that kid just sits here to wave at the funder and leaves afterwards. And I think it's important to just accept you win some and you lose some. Sometimes it's a match, and sometimes it's just not a match, and then you try again, and not to be like disheartened. If a funder turns you down, there's just someone that was a better match, and that's okay as well. So we wouldn't give up, and we try again to apply. But at the same funder at another time, or at another funder for that project. Those are the lessons.